All right, we're here as the Lost Rider Podcast. Good morning and welcome to this weekend's edition of News from the Camp House, a listening post of the Texas Sportsman Association. This is Herman Broom. This weekend's edition is also brought to us by the Shaw's Bend Social Club, country club folks who don't have a country club. All right, you can also find these interviews now if you go to the LostRiderPodcast.com. Yeah, you don't have to get up at 6:30 on Saturday morning and listen to the radio. You can listen to them whenever you want. All right, I'll tell you what, we are in Corpus Christi, one of my favorite coastal towns down here, Coastal Bend, and we're in Corpus Christi this morning. We are at the Port Authority with Mr. Kent Britton. Kent, how you doing this morning?
Just fine, Herman. Glad to have you here.
All right, okay. Why are we down here at the Port Authority? Okay, for starters, let's talk a little bit about the Port of Corpus Christi. I think in my country, everybody knows Houston has a port, and I don't know that people don't really know exactly everything there is about how great and grand this port is down here in Corpus.
Well, if you don't know much about this port, you're going to be surprised, and it's odd that when I speak here in Corpus Christi, people are often surprised. They go, really? Our little port? So this port started as a cotton exporter back in the 1920s. That was the primary commodity moving out of here. And then once the refineries got built in the 1950s, it switched over pretty much to oil and gas. And then when the fracking boom happened and the Eagle Ford and the Permian basins took off, and then the Obama administration lifted the ban on crude oil exports in 2015, this port was fundamentally changed. And we have basically tripled the tonnage moving through this waterway in just the last 10 years. We are now the largest crude oil export port in the entire United States. So we went from exporting no barrels, because it was against the law in 2015, to about 70,000 barrels a day the next year in 2016. And this past year, we exported 2.4 million barrels of oil per day.
Okay. And then what about LNG?
So great question. During that time, we've also become the second largest exporter of LNG. So that's liquefied natural gas, right, for those who don't know. And so they take natural gas, they compress it, turn it into a liquid, and send it all over the world. About 22% of the ships that sail out of this port end up in one port in Europe, and that's the Port of Rotterdam. And that's true for kind of combined oil and gas. And so a lot of Europe's natural gas, which is what they use to run their power plants over there, comes out of this port here in Corpus Christi. So each ship that leaves Corpus, and it's about one per day, will power 1,000 households in Europe for a month. So you can keep the lights on in 1,000. 1 million households in Europe for a month. So every ship that leaves here goes over there and can keep 1 million households lit up and heated and everything else through the winter in Europe. When the Ukraine war first started and Europe was not taking any more natural gas from the Russians, it's a bit of hyperbole, but not a lot, to say that this port here and Cheniere Energy, which runs the liquefied natural gas plant here, really kept the lights on in Europe for our allies.
All right, where's Rotterdam?
So Rotterdam's right kind of in the central coast of the Netherlands.
Okay, near that in Netherlands. When you're going from here to there, how do you go?
You'll go down, sail around Florida, and then you'll head northeast and just keep on going up there by past England.
Yes.
And
getting up towards Norway.
Correct.
Yeah, it's okay. So it's up towards Norway, up in that area. Okay. All right. Yes, LNG, liquefied natural gas. Everything is going to liquefied natural gas. Every time you look around now, whatever we were doing with coal, whatever we were doing with so many other ways, now they're looking at liquefied natural gas like there's no end to it.
That's correct. And if you look at, so there had been a push now for the last, during the last presidential administration that, hey, maybe we wanted to just skip over natural gas and move straight to things like hydrogen and ammonia and those kind of things. But for most of the world, liquefied natural gas is the easiest energy to receive, and it has 80% less carbon emissions than coal, for example. Mm-hmm. And so it's a great bridge fuel for folks who are getting off of coal. But then there's a whole nother part of the world that hasn't even gotten to coal yet. They're burning fuel oil, and they're burning wood, and they're burning dung, all things that have far higher carbon intensity than even coal. Mm-hmm. And the demand for energy in the world is not shrinking. The demand for energy in the world is actually expanding, and it's expanding pretty fast right now because of AI and data centers and the intense computing power that's being required to do the things that maybe you understand. I don't completely understand, but it requires a lot of energy.
Yes. It's the industries that coming now. We only thought industry used a lot of energy and water, but the stuff that's coming, I don't know why. It doesn't make sense to me. But for some reason, this high-tech stuff uses an extreme amount of energy, and it uses an extreme amount of water.
It does. So when you run that kind of computing power, it generates a lot of heat also. And so some of this is going for the actual computing, and some of this is actually going for cooling.
Okay. All right. So I think it's kind of almost a safe thing to say, okay, so we've got a lot of natural gas, and this may be a step over too. Solar and wind, that was farting the wind. But all that's, really, I mean, this is why,
your readers or your listeners should know that you're looking out my window at a ship carrying a bunch of windmill blades. So
it's stuff that so many people. I had conversations with some of the heart research people and parks and wildlife people, and I told them, I said, look, listen to your messaging when you're talking to people, because there's so many folks out here in the world that if you say climate change 3 times in a row, they're going to stop listening to you. It's synonymous with fraud and corruption. And I said, it's taken such a bad licking that you don't figure out another way to give your message. And I said, if you say something about the oceans rising, people are going to get up and walk out of the room. But no, the natural gas, going back to the subject here, natural gas looks like it could be the step over until, we really come up with something. And we had a gentleman at luncheon that we were both at, and he was talking about nuclear fusion.
I was getting ready to mention nuclear. Yeah. I think if I were a betting man, I'd say the next generation of fuel is probably going to be nuclear-based. Mm-hmm. And everyone's working on that right now. The state of Texas is heavily behind that. The governor is throwing money behind it. The federal government is behind that. It's got a bad rap, right, after 3 Mile Island and Chernobyl and Fukushima. There have been very high-profile accidents, and when you have those high-profile accidents, they create significant issues. But I do think smaller, safer technology that's produced on a factory production line, as opposed to being kind of stick-built in these huge quantities. So they call them small modular nuclear reactors. Reactors, right. I think that's kind of the wave of the future. What I am glad we finally reached some realization of, though, is that natural gas is we've been blessed with the most abundant natural resource that we've ever had, that any country's ever had, and to not take advantage of that it would be a mistake in my opinion. Now, when you talk wind and solar, we're doing all of that here. We're a believer here in all of the above. Well, when it comes to energy,
I really think Grandpa and the neighbor both, you could buy these things in the 30s, in the 1930s. You see the regular water windmills, and it says Chicago whatever on the blades.
Right.
Okay, that same company produced windmills for electricity. And Grandpa bought one, and the neighbor bought one, and neither one of them ever worked.
So I do think we went to the world's largest natural gas conference a few weeks ago, which was over in Italy. Took 3 of my commissioners. I'm governed by a board of 7 commissioners. Took 3 of them with me over there and some of our staff. And the thing you're hearing now, so they used to talk about energy transition or energy substitution. How are we going to replace fossil fuels? No one's really talking about that now. What everyone's talking about now is the term energy addition. So how are we going to come up with new sources of energy to supplement what we already have?
Right. No, I think that's 100% accurate. And I just said that about my grandpa. That wouldn't stop me from trying it again. I would say they've come that much further with the technology. Just to do a household up on that hill I live on, I always look at it and go, this would be a place to put some solar panels on the roof or put a windmill. Yeah, it would maybe make sense just for a household. But yes, it's in addition. It's a supplemental. It's you have natural gas. They're coming on fast with nuclear. It's all good. I tell you what, let's take a quick break. Thank you, folks who let us come on here every Saturday morning. We'll be right back.